Cranky Motorsports here on this very hot Sunday afternoon. I'm doing some work on my military tribute Sears tractor. For those of you that didn't know anything about this project, this is actually a 74, I think, ST16 Sears. And when I got it, this is the one I got running in my video pull starting it, the one I bought a couple months back. Whoops, sorry for the lightness changing on my phone. I keep getting different sun shining on here. But I pulled the motor out of it. I'm cleaning it up right now. I ripped all the wiring out of the thing. And what this is actually going to be is a 14 horse overhead valve Tecumseh. This originally had a 16 horse overhead valve Tecumseh, but I'm putting a 14 horse in it because 14 horse runs better. Has D-Stone, and I think these are called Duramax Ag tires. They're a 5-12, so they're super skinny. I actually had to tube them to get them on a 5.5 inch rim because they're probably only about a 4-inch wide tire realistically, and they're about 21.5, 22 inches tall. So they're really skinny tires, short tires. But when you put 4 of them on the back of the tractor, they look pretty good. And these are factory Sears 5.5 inch wide rear rims, which would have come on a 22 by 750 tire from Sears in like 66, 67, and sometimes 68. They put them on the SS12s. So I have 4 of the 5.5 inch rims with those 5-12 tires. You can see I have Miller wheel spacers on here. So Miller Tire Company. You kind of see the part number there, SOCH207959. Those are the wheel spacers I'm using, and then I have 2 sets of Sears wheel weights on the outside of the wheels on this, and tri-ribs on the front. So right now what I'm working on is just giving it a good cleaning, and I'm trying to figure out if I want to leave these Sears round fenders on it, which don't look terrible, but because they're so far up off the top of the tire and they're not very wide, I'm actually thinking about putting some square roper fenders off of an RT10 that I had picked up like 2 summers ago. And the reason I want to put the RT10 fenders on it is, for one, because they're square, so more angly like the old Willys Jeeps, the front fenders on the Willys Jeeps, and they sit a little bit closer to the tire and they're a little bit wider. So these fenders between the frame and the outside of the fender is 10 inches, while the roper ones come out 12 inches. So that would actually put it just about in the center of the tread on the outside tire, which I think would look better having more of the tire covered by the fender. They're also closer down to the tire, probably about an inch, inch and a half over these. So I'm gonna pull these fenders off and try to see how the other ones would look on this. It might be futile, it might be a waste of a half an hour to take these off and put the other ones on, but I wanna see what they look like. And I've mentioned before, this tractor is gonna get painted olive drab green, and it is gonna be very much like a military paint job, meaning I don't really want to take anything off. I don't really want to mask much of anything. And I know it's a really hack thing to do, to paint over stickers and to paint over the dash and everything else, but the tractor's like 2 shades of yellow and silver and rusty everywhere, and honestly, I've done so much work on tractors this summer, I don't really want to spend the time to strip another one down to the bare frame. So what I will probably do is see how the roper fenders look. If they look good on the tractor, I'll probably paint behind the frame where they bolt on, because they're actually red fenders. Paint the insides of the fenders, bolt them on the tractor, and then paint the entire thing. And I mean, I'll mask off, like, I'll take the screens out of the grill, I'll tape off the steering wheel, and tape off a couple things on the dash, obviously, but for the most part, it's gonna be all olive drab green, everything, axles, everything. The wheels I'll probably paint like a satin black or a flat black, but everything else on the tractor is going to be olive drab green. And I may end up pulling the wheels and tires back off to paint it. I may not. I might just throw a towel over them when I paint them so I don't get paint on them, but we'll have to see. I really don't want to get paint all over the tires. I mean, that's more hack than I do. I never paint on the tires or anything like that. I always at least mask off the tires to make sure they look good. This time around, I may even just brush paint on the wheels, because I have a quart of Rust-Oleum semi-gloss black, and that's probably what I'm going to use to paint the wheels. So I might just take them back off, degrease them real good, sand them down, and then brush them, and it'll lay flat enough, it'll look good enough. But again, it's going to be very much a military paint job, a military redo. And what I'm thinking about for this thing, I like the look of this grill on it. This is from a 67 pull start tractor. So obviously I'm going to take the screens out. I'm going to take out the headlight trim because I don't want to paint over that. I'm going to leave that just like it is. Maybe clear coat over it with a satin clear so I don't lose that look. But I'm actually going to mount headlights on the two sides of the grill on the outside, and then maybe make some kind of a like a big guard to go around the headlights, kind of again like a military tractor would have, just a big piece of metal bent around it. And then I also have a bumper to go inside the frame that sticks up a little bit, big push bumper on the bottom. I might make a angle iron or a flat stock piece that comes all the way around the front of the tractor, kind of like an old Ford 8N or Jubilee or something like that would have had. And I also have a 50 cal ammo can that I'm going to put somewhere on this. I haven't decided if I'm going to mount it on one of the fenders if I do the square fenders, or maybe I'll put that on the front bumper on the mule drive. So come along for the ride and let's see where this thing takes me. But so far I'm liking the way it looks. Alright, so here's what the decision's going to be. Either these Roper square fenders, which came off of like a 73 or 74, actually might have been newer than that, Roper RT10. They actually, I kind of like the way they look. You got the lines of the footboard and they go right to the fender, and then the fender goes back. They look cool from the side. I think they look cool from the back. Like I said, they basically come right about to the middle of the tread. And then you got these, which barely cover the second tire at all. And because these tires are so small, they have a huge gap in the fender. So I think I'm going to end up going with the square fenders off of the Roper. I've been waiting to put those on something. I saved them because I like the way they look. So that might be the way I go. And like I said, I think I'm just going to pull the fenders off. I'm going to paint those before I put them on. Take the seat off and tape off a few things down here, and then basically paint the entire thing army green. I'm going to pull the hood off so I can paint the inside of the hood and the outsides of the grill and stuff like that, obviously. But I think I like the way this is coming together. Square fenders, they look really good. Well, it looks like I decided to go with the Roper fenders after all, which is kind of what I had decided long before I even, tried putting them on the tractor. I will say one thing though. I just washed these off with some extra virgin lacquer thinner, which is great stuff. When you have cuts in your fingers like that one, lacquer thinner hurts a lot. So I'm going with the camouflage variety here, and it's the deep first green, deep first green. I'm gonna try this stuff out and see how it looks. Always make sure you point that away from your face. Let's see how she looks in camouflage green. Ooh. That's definitely first green. Deep first green. Well, definitely deep first green. It's not exactly the color I wanted, but when I bought this stuff, I went to like 4 different Walmarts, and this was the only one that they all had in stock. I bought 1 or 2 cans at the first one to try it out, and then I realized that actually, you know what? For an army color, this isn't going to be bad at all. Deep first green looks pretty good. Not bad at all. I'm just going to put, a decent, moderate coat on the inside of the fenders. Let it dry and touch up any spots that I miss. And that'll be good enough for the inside. Again, this only has to be good enough for government work. And it'll definitely be good enough for that. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not taking the entire tractor apart this time. I'm just at a point where it's getting later in the year. It's like July 18th, I think, today, Sunday. And It's getting later in the year. I'm going on vacation, going camping in a couple of weeks. I just wanted to get some more of my tractor projects partially done. I definitely want to finish this tractor before the end of the summer. And I have a couple other projects that need some attention. My original RT16T Roper, the fuel pump on it doesn't work, and me being Mr. Roper, I have to get it to work, you know. I think this stuff is going to be perfect. I have an old original 50 cal ammo can that I was going to put on the Fender, and it's definitely a different color than this stuff, but we'll see. I'd like to keep the lettering on that, so maybe I'll just paint the tractor this color, and if the ammo can matches, it does. If it doesn't, oh well. But I'm going to go ahead and get this guy painted up, and then I got to push the tractor from my house way down there up here and take all the wheels off that I spent 2 hours putting on yesterday with the wheel weights and everything. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw a couple of coats of paint on this thing, and I'll catch up with you guys in a bit. I got one coat of this deep first green done, and it looks pretty good. I mean, it's all splotchy and flat, and you know, generally looks pretty crappy, which means it's just perfect because it's flat army paint. I mean, it's all going to dry flat and crummy anyway, so if it looks all streaky and nasty like that, it just adds to the flatness of the paint. I went through one whole can of this, you know, deep first green, or deep first gurn. Yeah, it's gurn, not even green, it's gurn. One whole can just to do the insides of the fenders. So maybe because I was painting over red and I tend to paint really heavy, but it didn't cover all that well. I think I have 8 cans of this stuff, and I was hoping to do the whole tractor with 8 cans. Not looking like that's going to happen, but I'm going to go ahead and pull the tractor up here and start taking the wheels off and taking the hood off and getting that thing ready to paint. And by getting it ready to paint, I mean taking the wheels and the hood off and basically spraying it. So, catch up with you guys in a bit. Well, this is going to be the end of this weekend's video. I might do another one tomorrow, we'll see. I got, I don't know, probably 99.9% of this thing done. And if you see how splotchy this paint is, that's exactly how you want it to look. Because, keep in mind, again, this is camouflage, and you don't want it to like show any sheen or anything. It's going to dry to a nice, dull, ugly, flat color, which is perfect. And I got a name for this tractor, so I was really thinking on what I could name this thing. Being that it's, you know, olive drab green and kind of an ugly build, but it's perfect to military standards. And basically, the way the military tells you to paint stuff is mask off only the stuff you don't want paint on. So as you can see, I didn't mask anything except my tires, which I already took off, but I masked off the ammeter and the steering wheel. Everything else got painted, and yes, there's still yellow paint in the frame. I'm going to try to squirt some green in there, but this is not a frame-off restoration. This is a military restoration, which, like I said, you tape off what you don't want paint on, you paint everything else. But here's the fenders. And I'm leaving these outside overnight because, you know, when the paint's drying, if the dew settles on it, and it gives it even a flatter, uglier luster, it's perfect, or more perfect. And I'll dust these again tomorrow so I get even more streaks in there than I have now. There's some runs. It's not great, but it's flat and it's green. So, again, I said I have a name for this tractor, and I always try to name my cool build tractors based on the engine that's in it. So I have like the D10S, which is the diesel 10 Sears, and then the 679, which has nothing to do with the engine in it, although it is a 7-horse Yanmar, so I could say that. But what I really named that guy for was the fact that it's a half 67, half 69, even though it's really a half 68 and half 69. But this is getting a 14-horse Tecumseh out of a GT14 hydro or very drive. So I figured, you know, what kind of goes along with military theme and what kind of goes along with 14, and it struck me. I'm going to call this tractor the AR-14 Ghost. And many of you will get that joke, some of you won't, and that's okay. You probably won't understand why I didn't take the tractor apart and do it right either. So for those of you that get it, this is going to be the AR-14 Ghost Sears tractor. Like I said, I got to paint the wheels and everything black still, but green looks terrible at nighttime because you can't really see it. It's going to look terrible in the daytime too, which is perfect. So I want you guys to stay tuned and check out what I do next with the Sears AR-14 Ghost.